Welcome to the third webinar of our Industrial Connectivity webinar series. Today we'll be discussing the topic of industrial computing and IoT. My name is Scott Seifin on the marketing team here at Moxa, and I'll be helping out as your moderator. So just a few housekeeping items I want to mention. First off, we have turned off everyone's audio and video to eliminate any distractions and to keep the session under the scheduled 30 minutes. Secondly, just like the other webinars we have done, we will be answering questions from all of you during our live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So just submit them at the bottom of the Q&A window at the bottom of your screen. And I'll send out a reminder throughout the presentation. Finally, we will be sending out a copy of the recording and the presentation slides in an email that's going out tomorrow. So please look for that in your inbox. All right, now that all that is out of the way, let's do a quick introduction of the presenters. First off, we have Todd Desso. Todd is our strategic business manager here at Moxa. Been with us for over 13 years, but has over 23 years of industrial experience. So he's been doing this thing for a long time. He's held several positions in sales, product marketing, and engineering, and has a ton of experience in several vertical markets. Presenting alongside him is Carrie Gunther. Carrie is our IoT business division manager and our overall resident expert on anything related to edge computing and IoT. He's been with Moxa for over 12 years and is very well versed in verticals such as gas, factory automation, and ITS. So, you know, two very experienced guys that are going to share a lot of knowledge with you today. So we're really excited to have them both. With all that said, let's kick things off, and I'll hand that over to Todd.
Thanks, Scott. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Moxa Industrial Connectivity webinar series. As Scott noted, this is the third in the series that we'll be hosting over the next several weeks. Now, although these sessions have been and will be short in duration, they definitely are touching on a number of key points. We hope that these generate additional discussions which can be more specific to your needs and challenges. In addition, we've lined up definitely a solid group of speakers. I'm confident you will find them both knowledgeable and practical as it relates to their topics. So with that said, today we will be discussing industrial computing and IoT. We will touch on the trends and challenges commonly faced. We will overview Moxa's solutions and how we can collaborate with each other, and we will conclude with a Q&A session. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my friend and colleague, straight from his Skunk Works lab in Austin, Texas, Mr. Carrie Gunther. What's up, Carrie?
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate the Skunk Works intro. Like most on the phone, I've adapted my home office to full-blown work from home, man cave, IoT cave, what have you. Generally, this is the part of the presentation where I make a joke about Todd's ponytail that he's grown out, but currently I don't know that I'm doing any better with my length of hair.
You're catching up. You're catching up.
Absolutely. So with that, I've officially started the timer. We're going to keep this short and sweet and move right through. At the end, you'll have my email address. I certainly welcome any of you to reach out to me directly. If I can help you, I will. If I need to pull in some of the smart folks on my team, I'll do that as well. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. So I like to start really with a quote here because I think it frames the conversation and the presentation. This comes from Kenny Warren, VP of Engineering at ExxonMobil. But he states, "Closed and proprietary industrial control systems have served us well until now. But the future will be more IIoT-like with more open and interoperable systems." And to me, nothing speaks more to the trends that we're seeing in IoT and edge compute than that quote. But if we expand on that a little bit, there's about two or three distinct trends that we'll highlight. Number one, intelligence is moving to the edge. Inherently, the legacy control systems, you have a very large brain or controller that then talks to a very hierarchical system out to these edge nodes. And those edge nodes are just grabbing data, but they're not intelligent. And so with modern technology, with price points that you can achieve now with the products in the market, the intelligence is now all the way out on the edge. So you can make much faster real-time decisions where the events are occurring. That's also leading to another trend, which we call SCADA in the cloud. And traditional SCADA systems are moving from on-prem to the cloud rapidly. All of the major providers are doing this, and that's being done, again, by these intelligent edge systems. And with that, you're getting a flurry of open standards that are being adopted into the space. Things like MQTT and Sparkplug, AMQP. These are enterprise and IT standards from the past, now being pulled into industrial systems. But if I put it all together in one picture, I think this sums it up the best. Most of you, if you've been in industrial control systems, automation for your career, you're very familiar with the Purdue model or this layered model. You've got I/O on the far edge. That's being communicated to by a controller, usually a PLC or a DCS, sometimes a computer. That then is communicating back to a SCADA system. Between the SCADA system and your enterprise or IT, you have a very distinct firewall. There's a large separation. That's kind of where your OT to IT convergence happens. And then you're into MES and ERP enterprise systems. But if you look at what's happening now with these smart, intelligent edge devices, with SCADA going to the cloud, your I/O can now communicate straight to the cloud. PLCs and DCS no longer have to go straight to a SCADA system. They can also publish and communicate back and forth with the cloud. And so there's a huge disruption in these traditional models. But with that comes challenges. Right out of the gate, you have a distributed architecture. The old ways of managing control systems were very easy to layer in the hierarchy. Now you have intelligent devices all over the network. How do you manage that? How do you ensure that you have flexibility? What you deploy today, you certainly want to be able to take advantage of new software, new cloud features, new SCADA features into the future without having to rip and replace all of your equipment. So how do you build that in? And then finally, and probably most important, is the security aspects of these deployments. Security is huge when you open up your control system. If I/O is communicating directly to the cloud, you no longer have these traditional layers of security built in by the inherent legacy control systems. And so security becomes paramount here.
Yeah, Kerry, we're definitely seeing these trends and challenges across multiple applications, from factory automation to process. And even in the previous webinars that we've done, security has been touched on from the networking side to the communication equipment. It's really amazing. So when talking about computing, what is the easiest way to break down our portfolio for our attendees today?
Yeah, at Moxa's core for 30 years, we've been manufacturing hardware. So from an edge compute standpoint, that's where we start. I'd split it into two categories. We have edge computers. These are going to sit on DIN rail. They're very wide temp and a mix of different technology there. And then on the other side, we have panel computers. So computer on the back, screen on the front, and these are used in various different automation applications. But two things in our offering that you're not going to see necessarily on a data sheet really have to do with the domain expertise that Moxa has. We've been doing automation for 30 years. So when you talk about protocols and PLCs and I/O and all this connectivity, there's a lot of knowledge base that we have to assist our customers. And then the third thing that you don't see here is software. And we'll get into that a little bit at the end, but Moxa is providing utilities. Some of these have a GUI and you can go straight to them to configure different aspects of the computer. Other portions of it have to do with API sets and various different things we do in Linux to really adapt these computers to an automation application. But if I expand on that edge compute piece, let me spend a little bit of time here kind of outlaying this, portfolio of products that we had. So about 3 years ago, when I took over our IoT business, we really had one product, and it's the one that you see in the middle, kind of underneath where it says control. And this was a single ARM processor. At the time, it had 512 meg of RAM, and we kind of positioned that into most edge applications. And what we found is one size doesn't fit all. And so some customers needed a highly scalable, very low cost. And if you go down to the bottom, for just a pure data acquisition kind of application, we have even smaller devices. We can hit $150 price points. You're now in the kind of a Raspberry Pi price point. And then conversely, we have customers that want to run very advanced analytics and machine learning. And a single core ARM processor wasn't enough. And so what we ended up doing is releasing our Atom product. And I'm pleased to announce in the upper right-hand corner, we're releasing a MC1200 model. This runs the latest Whiskey Lake i7 with up to 32 gigs of RAM. So you can see just the vast, diverse set of edge computers that we have.
Yeah, we definitely have a good mix of customers using both the x86 and the ARM computers. With the various options available, from wired, wireless, serial, Ethernet, USB interfaces, the memory, we do provide a number of choices as customers seek that best solution for their needs. Let's switch gears a bit to the other side of our portfolio and talk panel computers.
Yep.
There's one thing that I continuously hear when presenting our computer portfolio. I didn't know you all had panel computers.
Yeah, there's probably a reason for that. So we've actually been manufacturing panel computers for a better part of a decade. But initially, we came into the market with two very specific vertical markets that we targeted, and that was oil and gas and marine. And from there, we've certainly expanded the portfolio. We still sell a lot of these into those verticals, but they absolutely fit into other general industrial applications. And so for some customers that may have missed our early release because they're not in those verticals, they may have not heard about it. But I'm pleased to announce that this also has been built into a very diverse line with many different sizes, many different capabilities. So staying true to the industrial nature of everything Moxa does, we do have those hazardous area certifications for oil and gas. We have marine certifications, but these are also wide temperature devices. In many cases, we can go up to 75 C. These are sunlight readable, very, very industrial. But at the same time, and kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, while we stay true to industrial, we also try to get the latest, greatest technology. And so these are different in the traditional panel computer sense in that they're capacitive touch. That means you can do multi-touch, you can do pinch to zoom, and it has that nice, crisp, glossy look and feel that you're used to in your commercial devices, like an iPad or an iPhone, your Android device. And then on top of that, we also finish it out with, again, the latest, greatest technology from Intel so that you get the most performance bang for your buck on these industrial computers. But if you're not just purely focused on the technical aspect, we have also evolved this from a commercial standpoint. And 2 years ago, we implemented what we call our Quick Turn Computer Program. And really it was meant to address three key things. Number one, having them readily available and in stock. These are very specialized computers, but a lot of times our customers need them quickly for a project, and having to wait 2 months or 3 months just wasn't enough. And so currently we're stocking several $1 million worth of these computers in our Brea, California location. Second, we need to have the option for quick configuration. Because these are computers, you can choose different operating systems between Windows, several variations, Linux, different storage options, and we can do that here locally in California. Finally, pricing. Typical panel computer business is special priced. It's a long process. It's difficult for customers, and these are typically high dollar spend items for our different customers' projects. And so we've now implemented what we call small quantity pricing. So you don't have to negotiate, here's my 3-year deal and all this volume. We get very aggressive pricing right out of the gate on even quantity one devices.
Yeah, the QTC program has been great. It certainly has helped out a number of our customers, and certainly glad that it was implemented. So let's shift gears to IIoT. A number of people, Carrie, are familiar with the hype cycle. And I know there's a funny story that goes along with your personal hype cycle as it relates to our computing offering. So what's your assessment as to where we are?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I will give you a little personal insight to my own hype cycle with IoT. But you could probably do a hype cycle of the hype cycle. I think it's been around for a very long time, but it's even gotten hype itself, probably in the slope of enlightenment on its own hype cycle. But yeah, Scott had mentioned I've been working for Moxa for 13 years, so not new to the industrial space. And you know, 4 or 5 years ago, as IoT started to become this buzz out there, I was very early to kind of dismiss that that's what we've done all along. That customers of ours are using serial to Ethernet and switches and computers and already doing this type of work. And as luck would have it, that of course means I then get to run our IoT department. But I'll absolutely tell you, oh, excuse me, wrong way. This technology is being deployed. And in different verticals, even within the industrial space, are probably in different stages. So if we look at building automation, the building automation applications today, the customers expect IIoT. They need that remote connectivity. They absolutely expect that these systems are going to connect to the cloud and they're going to control them through their phones, mobile devices. It's absolutely expected. In fact, Moxa's largest IoT deployment I would put into this space, it has to do with the solar application, where we've actually got a single customer that has deployed over 15,000 gateways connecting over cellular to AWS and passing back and forth energy production data. If you look at remote asset monitoring, this is another area that I would say is probably already on that plateau of productivity, maybe a little bit behind building automation, but absolutely being implemented today. This is markets like upstream and midstream oil and gas, where they're deploying at the wellhead on the pipeline directly. And again, going straight to the cloud, not going through a local SCADA system. And then finally, we have a big catch-all, traditional automation. I would present this as a manufacturing environment, automation within four walls. While it's still, I would say, past the trough of disillusionment and coming up the slope of enlightenment, it's a little bit different arena, because in most of these cases, you have large servers in these facilities. You have fiber optic WAN connections with plenty of bandwidth. And so while the immediate return on investment, like the remote asset monitoring or building automation, might not be there, the efficiencies by being able to run analytics, doing machine learning, and optimizing your factory, you're still absolutely pushing that. And really, I think what's interesting is in this current environment, while you're seeing CapEx budgets cut and continued layoffs, the IoT specifically, or IIoT and digitization efforts, is one area in our customers. We're actually seeing them double down and continue to invest in this market because of what this technology can bring.
Yeah, Kerry, I would say right now, with everything that we're encountering, this is definitely an unprecedented event. I think COVID-19, whether you believe it has been overstated or understated, I think we would all agree that it's been quite impactful. You look at the impact of our food industry, you look at oil and gas, specific to manufacturing, as you were just talking about. The National Association of Manufacturers conducted a survey in which 78% of manufacturers expect that the pandemic will have a financial impact on their business. 53% anticipate a change in operations. And we're seeing that firsthand. I mean, during our customer engagements, there is a lot of discussion about remote connectivity and interface to assets. We're also seeing a robust effort to lower operating costs, and customers talking about automation and software management to drive efficiencies and safeties. So whether you're talking IIoT, Industry 4.0, or digitalization, these are going to evolve and take on probably an even greater importance in the months and years to come. So how do we get folks started on their IIoT journey?
Yeah, I love the lead in there of how we get started, because IoT is definitely a journey. Whether you're years into this and have a mature platform, or you're just thinking about it, there's a lot that Moxa can bring from what we've been able to analyze and work with our customers to deploy over the last 3 years. So the beginning of this year, I worked with my app engineering team to come out with what we call a playbook. And the concept was simple. Let's get out of the theoretical IoT and let's get into the real world deployed solutions. And ultimately, the summary here is one size doesn't fit all. Every customer has a unique scenario, whether it's the size of your DevOps team or the lack of a DevOps team, the different features that you want being capable. If you're just doing data acquisition versus you want to run heavy machine learning, the applications are very diverse. But let me quickly run through these different plays. Again, it's going to be really high level, and I'm going to go really quick. We've got about 4 minutes left. So this will be IoT in 4 minutes, but please reach out to us. We'd love to get deeper into these. But play number one is a rather simple application, but we've deployed a lot of it. This goes into that remote asset monitoring category. And with Moxa's Things Pro software, along with our gateways, you can do some simple applications like grabbing Modbus data and publishing that to Azure or AWS, or publishing via Sparkplug. And you can do that all with Moxa's utilities and a Moxa gateway. Now, we don't have a specific gate on this, but as you scale and get into a larger deployment, you probably want to implement some of these other plays. But from a basic POC pilot type deployment, I could get Russ, who will be on later to help answer some questions. I could get Russ to work with one of you engineers on the call or one of your engineering teams, and we could probably publish Modbus data to your cloud in probably 10 minutes. It really is that easy. The second play and a huge trend here is what we call SCADA edge software. And this has been coming and at a pace that's moving very, very fast. But what you're seeing is the SCADA companies decoupling their software to release Linux, ARM, small device footprint software packages. And so while in play one, we're only talking about Modbus, play two and the SCADA offerings start to allow a vast, diverse set of protocols and a lot of additional communication by running their container or their application on our device. The third option is a great one for somebody that wants a full IoT system and platform and infrastructure, but doesn't have the time or resources to do it themselves. And so they can utilize third-party companies to actually sell them IoT platform as a service. Moxa's play here is simple. We provide the edge gateway, but we do a lot of validation with those IoT platform providers to ensure that it works as you expect. Number four, this is a really common one for our customers, the BYO solution. You're building your own solution. These are Linux computers, so if you can code, you can quite frankly develop whatever you want on these devices. Obviously, there's a cost associated with that. There's time, there's money, there's your development effort, but you can build absolutely your own customized solution. And this has the added benefit of you own it, so there's no licensing fees, there's no services, you have the cost of supporting it, but you're not paying the upfront costs. And then finally, another trend that we're seeing is the adoption of cloud providers publishing their own edge software. And so specifically, I want to highlight the work that we've done with Azure here. And you can see the quote from Sam George, VP of Azure IoT. He mentions that integration with Moxa will make it easier for customers who want to deploy IoT connected solutions for more intelligent industrial applications and field services. And in a nutshell, I'm going to grossly oversimplify this, but what you have on the right-hand side is Azure's IoT Hub. And that's their ingestion point to the cloud that allows them to offer these IoT services. And then they extend that out to the edge with a product called Azure IoT Edge. And this is a container, it's provided from Microsoft that we can run on our hardware. And then we go a step further and instead of just saying, yes, we can run that, which most folks that have a Linux operating system can claim that, we actually build integration into that product. And so we start to expose all of the lower level hardware features that Moxa has in our product. So being able to reset the computer remotely, being able to do security patches, over-the-air updates, configure a cell modem, exchange security keys. We start to build connectivity. So again, we try to get easier and easier so you don't have to build it all yourself. You can use tools from companies like Moxa and Microsoft to make it far easier. And then finally, if I take that just a step further, I'll end here with this slide, but as recent as 2 or 3 years ago, our IoT customers came to us and really it was, how do I get data from the edge to the cloud? And we've solved that, and our customers have solved that, and there's lots of third-party products that address that. And while I don't want to say that that's extremely easy, it's not nearly as difficult as it once was. But what has shifted now is when customers start to do this at scale, simply being concerned about getting the data is only one piece of the puzzle. And what you have now layered on top of that is, from a Moxa's perspective, what we call device management or device lifecycle management. So if you're going to deploy 500 units, 1,000 units, tens of thousands of units, you need to have a systematic way to provision, commission, do those remote software updates, security patches, updates to the kernel, updates to the edge software. And this starts to be that future-proofing side of, okay, if you want to start with 5 or 10 devices, that's great, but you need to have a systematic way to scale out. And so really the conversation has shifted into not just the data itself, although we still do a lot of that, but how do I build a future-proofed, scalable IoT solution? And that's what Moxa is doing today. So with that, Todd, I'm going to conclude there. I think we're right on time, and I'll let you take it into the Q&A.
Yeah, Gary, that was a lot of information. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Really, the call to action here is simple. Reach out to us. We're happy to help. We're happy to help support your team and their efforts. So we're going to turn this over to Scott to do the Q&A because it looks like we had a few questions come in during the presentation.
Yeah, we did, Todd. Thanks, Carrie and Todd. Appreciate that, you guys. So yeah, we did get a quick question here related to touch panels, Carrie. So the question is, resistive touch panels, are they available in your portfolio? Most of our operators working in gloves and capacitive screens are not working in these environments. Is that something that you can touch on?
I can, sure. And that is absolutely a legitimate concern when using capacitive touchscreens. So the short answer is no, we do not offer resistive. We are fully capacitive across our product line. However, we call it glove-friendly capacitive. And so we've actually, we have the ability to increase or decrease the sensitivity of that capacitive touchscreen so that you can interface with gloves on. So these aren't specialized gloves, regular gloves. We've done some demos. You could probably even Google it or check out YouTube. But even the really thick oil and gas work gloves, we're able to increase the sensitivity on those capacitive screens to still allow a glove-friendly capacitive touchscreen.
Great, thank you, Carrie. Before we get to the next question, I did want to just introduce Russ Tibbetts. Forgot to mention him. Sorry about that, Russ. Russ is actually our IoT technical sales and field application engineer. A little bit of a mouthful, but kind of alluding to what Carrie was saying. He's one of the smart guys on Carrie's team. So
I was going to say, he's the resident smart guy when you start.
He is the resident smart guy. Yeah. So sorry about that, Russ.
No problem.
I do have a question that's actually, speaking of you, this is probably more up your alley. So the question is, I don't quite get the intent of these devices. Are they replacing PLC functionality? Would you install HMI software on them for an operator workstation? If they're a DIN rail mount, then why not use the panel PC?
That's a great question.
I was going to say, there's a lot of pieces to that one. Russ, I'll let you take a first crack at it if you want.
Sure, that's fine. Thank you. And it's a great question. We want to make sure that the products we're showing you, are understood as far as where they fit best in the industry, what their strengths are that they offer. So typically these are ARM-based, low power, fanless, industrial rated, temperature-wise, and Class 1 Div 2 rugged devices for edge computing. So generally what they give is connectivity and edge computing capabilities to get access to data that typically, historically, you couldn't get access to. One use case is oil and gas distributed assets, so like wellheads. It's a perfect scenario. Typically, we do LTE connectivity to give a network connection where you don't have, your typical network connection. So it varies greatly. I think SCADA is a big application typical use case that we see a lot.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that. I think we've shown a lot of products in a lot of different applications. What Russ was more specifically speaking to would be what we would term an IoT gateway. And typically that's going to connect to a PLC. It's not meant to replace a PLC, but it would allow that gateway to take PLC information that you would want to use for analytics, send that to the cloud. Your PLC is still going to be in its normal control application, localized SCADA, controlling whatever it is that it's connected to. And so that would be the IoT gateway. On the side of that, there are other uses. Yes, some customers do put control software on a PLC, kind of a soft PLC approach, and you can certainly run HMIs off of these, but a lot of different applications and use cases to try to tackle. Would love to get deeper into that on a separate discussion.
All right, thanks, Russ and Carrie. So just a quick time check. We have time for about one more question just to stay under a 30-minute commitment. So we'll end on this one. What types of customers are most likely to adopt SCADA in the cloud? Specific industries, regions, or customer sizes?
I would put SCADA in the cloud in that remote asset monitoring category as far as the widest adoption. So again, back to upstream oil and gas, midstream. We have a lot of industrial OEMs, folks that are manufacturing HVAC equipment, water utilities. But really think of applications where you don't have a centralized control network. you have lots of different assets scattered all over a very large geographic area. And so SCADA in the cloud is a very economical, high performance way to kind of centralize your data, even though your assets are actually scattered all over the place. Hopefully that gave you what you're looking for.
I think it's a great answer. Thank you, Carrie. We do have a few more questions. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of take these offline and we will answer these. We'll reach out to you and answer these directly. So thanks for submitting your questions. With that said, Todd, let me hand things over to you and get us out of here.
Cool, thanks. Thanks everyone for attending today's webinar. We appreciate the continued opportunity to support you and your efforts. The feedback that we've been receiving from these sessions has been great. Please keep it coming. And the questions that I saw today were equally as impressive. So please, we love seeing that. The feedback is great. It helps us get better as well. Don't hesitate to visit www.moxa.com for product technology and application insight, or reach out to your local Moxa sales representative. And also keep an eye out for the next in our series. Until then, please, everyone stay well. Take care.